For years, Wayne Carini wasn't just another face in the world of vintage cars. He was the face. With a practiced eye and a pair of skilled hands, he turned rusted relics into rolling works of art. On his hit show Chasing Classic Cars, viewers watched in awe as Wayne unearthed forgotten treasures, restored them with precision, and gave them a new lease on life. He wasn't flashy, dramatic, or gimmicky, just a steady, passionate craftsman doing what he loved. But television has a way of hiding what's behind the curtain. While the cameras rolled on gleaming fenders and joyful auctions, a different picture was taking shape off-screen. And in an industry where a handshake can seal a deal worth hundreds of thousands, even a single misstep can set off a chain reaction. Wayne, for all his experience and good intentions, wasn't immune. It started subtly. Whispers in collector circles, scattered complaints, a strange legal case here and there. No one wanted to believe it. Wayne Carini, the guy who built a brand on trust and transparency? But the rumors kept coming. Soon, the questions got louder. How could someone with such a sterling reputation find himself mired in lawsuits and public disputes? Was this all just unfortunate coincidence, or something more tangled? Wayne's name had long been synonymous with quality and integrity. Now it was showing up in court documents, internet threads, and disgruntled buyer testimonials. For a man who'd built a career on stability and trust, this wasn't a fall from grace. It was a slow, creeping unraveling. And it all began with a single vintage car, a rare Pierce Arrow with a murky past. The car at the heart of the storm was a stunning 1934 Pierce Arrow coupe. Elegant, rare, and historically significant, it was the sort of vehicle collectors fantasize about. But under the hood and behind the polished chrome, the story wasn't so pristine. Back in 2010, long before the car entered Wayne's orbit, an Australian collector named Robert Richmond had wired $98,000 to a man named Gary Dixo to purchase the Pierce Arrow. Richmond thought the transaction was solid. Funds transferred, deal done, car en route. But instead of following through, Dixo registered the vehicle in his own name, leaving Richmond empty-handed and out nearly $100,000. For a while, the car disappeared, off the radar, untouchable. Then in 2017, it re-emerged. Gary, now facing financial problems, decided to sell the Pierce Arrow. That's when it landed on Wayne Carini's desk. Tasked with appraising the coupe, Wayne inspected it and estimated its value at around $110,000 to $120,000. The paperwork appeared complete. The ownership trail seemingly legit. So Wayne purchased it. But there was a fatal flaw. The title was fraudulent. Richmond had never relinquished ownership. He'd been searching for the car for years, and when he traced it to Wayne's shop, the situation erupted. Richmond filed a lawsuit in 2018, naming Wayne, F40 Motorsports, and others involved. While Wayne didn't knowingly commit fraud, he found himself caught in a legal storm. A restorer with a stolen car in his possession, and no way to unwind the deal without consequence. The court later acknowledged Wayne's good faith in relying on the documents provided, but the damage had already been done. He had to contribute to a financial resolution, and worse, his name had been pulled into a story of betrayal, oversight, and misplaced trust. The Pierce Arrow case peeled back layers of an industry where deals hinge on reputation, and where even minor errors can create massive fallout. Wayne, a figure of stability in the classic car world, now found his credibility on trial, literally and figuratively. Just as the Pierce Arrow dust began to settle, another incident pulled Wayne and F40 Motorsports back into scrutiny, this time involving a 2007 Lamborghini Gallardo. Unlike the convoluted ownership mess of the Pierce Arrow, this one seems simple. The Gallardo was immaculate and advertised with a standout feature: a rare luxury luggage package reportedly worth $88,000. For collectors, details like this elevate a car's appeal and value. The buyer, impressed by the offering, jumped at the opportunity. The deal closed. The car was delivered. But the luggage, the crown jewel of the listing, was missing. So was the spare key. Initially, the buyer assumed it was a minor shipping oversight. But weeks passed, then months. Communication from F40 became inconsistent. Promises were made, follow-ups were delayed, and frustration grew. Eventually, the buyer took his story online. On Lamborghini Talk, a well-known enthusiast forum, he detailed his experience in full. The listing, the missing items, the slow responses. The thread exploded. Other users voiced concern. Some shared their own minor frustrations. And suddenly, what could have been a minor hiccup turned into a PR headache. Under increasing pressure and likely legal advisement, F40 Motorsports eventually shipped the missing luggage and key. The buyer acknowledged the resolution but left a clear message. For a high-end dealership, expectations aren't just about the product. They're about trust, attentiveness, and seamless service. While this incident didn't rise to the level of litigation, it added to a troubling pattern. Buyers weren't just upset about delays or missing items. They were questioning the reliability of a brand that once stood for excellence. The missing luggage might have seemed trivial in another industry, but in the collector world where every detail matters, it was a serious red flag. In the classic car community, word spreads fast, not through press releases but through forums, DM threads, and whispers in garages. And following the Pierce Arrow and Gallardo situations, Wayne Carini's once bulletproof reputation was beginning to erode, not with a bang, but with a slow, steady leak. Online forums like Ferrari Chat, Vintage Car Collectors, and Lamborghini Talk became quiet arenas where Wayne's name was brought up, sometimes with admiration, but increasingly with caveats. One post described F40 Motorsports as well-intentioned but disorganized. Another claimed delays in receiving documentation. Most weren't angry, just concerned, but it was the pattern that raised eyebrows. In isolation, these were minor issues, but together they painted a picture of a business struggling under its own weight. And when your legacy is built on reliability and transparency, even perception can be lethal. Wayne wasn't accused of malice. He was accused of slipping, and that may be even harder to repair. Because online criticism doesn't disappear. Forum threads linger in search results. Buyer hesitation compounds over time. And in an industry where buyers do deep due diligence, those whispers start to shape decisions. The question became clear. Was this still the Wayne Carini of chasing classic cars? Or had the reality of running a business caught up with the legend? To his credit, Wayne didn't vanish. He didn't deny or deflect. In a 2019 interview with the Hartford Courant, he addressed the Pierce Arrow ordeal candidly. "You rely on documentation. That's the only thing we can do." It was a sobering reflection, honest if not entirely comforting. Behind the scenes, F40 Motorsports began quietly overhauling its operations. Title checks became more rigorous. Sales documentation was tightened. Client communication protocols were refined. These weren't public-facing changes, but they signaled a commitment to improvement. Wayne also began involving himself more directly in customer concerns, something that had slipped as the business grew. For longtime clients, it was a reassuring return to form. For new ones, it was a sign that lessons had been learned. What Wayne set out to repair wasn't a single transaction. It was a relationship with an entire community. And in the collector world, that bond is everything. 6. The road to redemption. Wayne Carini's story isn't one of scandal. It's one of small oversights with outsized consequences. A man respected for decades who let a few critical details slip through the cracks. And in a market where reputation is currency, that slip nearly cost him everything. But unlike many public figures, Wayne didn't run. He took responsibility. He adjusted course. He stayed visible. There's no dramatic comeback moment here, just a quiet, persistent effort to win back trust. One car, one client, one conversation at a time. Whether that's enough to fully restore his legacy remains to be seen. But if Wayne Carini has taught us anything, through every dusty barn find and painstaking restoration, it's that with enough care, even the most weathered things can shine again.